Eriwo ya. Eriwo ya. Eriwo ya. Ayakpo, ayakto, ayakje, ayamu. O meriwo simpe. Ìbà Olódùmarè, ọba àti rere kí ayé, ìbà tí òjò, ìbà tí òrùn, ìbà ilé òkèèrè fi kò yé rí, ìbà Ọ̀rúnmìlà lẹ́ẹ̀pín, ìbà Ọ̀rúnmìlà ẹ̀dìkọ̀tún, ìbà Ọ̀rúnmìlà ẹ̀dìkọ̀sí, ìbà àkọ́dá, ìbà ṣẹ̀dá, ìbà ọbàrìṣà nífẹ̀ẹ́, ìbà lájẹ̀lú nífẹ̀ẹ́, ìbà ọbàlùrin nífẹ̀ẹ́, ìbà olóyè fẹ̀ṣọ́ ìbọ́dímì olúwo ní àbígbà, ìbà Ifá Àgbàmílà, ìbà Olúṣọlá Akérèdọ́lù, ìbà Arúbalótúfẹ́, ìbà Ìyàwóntúwẹ̀yẹ, ìbà Gúngún, ìbà bàbá, ìbà yèyé, ìbà lófin ògúnfin rírẹ̀, ìbà gbogbo àwo, ìbà ojúgbọ́nà, ìbà ọmọ Odùduwà, Ọ̀rúnmìlà dákúndábò, pẹ̀lẹ́ pẹ̀lẹ́ pẹ̀lẹ́, Ọ̀rúnmìlà dákúndábò, pẹ̀lẹ́ pẹ̀lẹ́ pẹ̀lẹ́, Ọ̀rúnmìlà dákúndábò, pẹ̀lẹ́ pẹ̀lẹ́ pẹ̀lẹ́, lọ́tún lósì, àríra gúúsù. Àpọ́n bíakọ̀, akọ bíakọ̀, àpọ̀npọ̀npọ̀npọ̀n, àkọ́kọ́ wálé, kọ̀kọ́kàn, wọn kọ̀kọ̀lá pàkọ́ta, àpàtọ̀ fílé, rẹ̀sílé, tẹ̀kílé, lẹ́ǹkìlì, ọ̀pẹ̀lẹ̀, kúnlé o, wà pọ̀tọ̀, kàn ṣẹ́ pẹ́lẹ́pẹ́lẹ́, oníyàn bá pọ̀, wà pọ̀tọ̀, kàn ṣẹ́ pẹ́lẹ́pẹ́lẹ́, akọ̀rẹ́ ilé mi dáadáa, sípàdà yégèrè sípàdé fọ̀nà àjẹkùn, ọmọ rẹ̀ kan bẹ̀rẹ̀ wó jẹ. Ntuku ate ọmọ bèbè ntuku òkun wọn kàn lẹ́sìn ìjà náà kí lè títí gba ẹnìkéré dé olùkọ́mọ̀ bá Ọ̀rúnmìlà ṣòwòpó kíni ó máa bèrè àjẹ́ èdè ìrìnbánu pẹ́ẹ́nà àyà àkìbà Ọ̀rúnmìlà ṣòwò kíni ó máa rèrè àyà yàn ìrìnbánu pẹ́ẹ́nà ọmọ kìbà Ọ̀rúnmìlà ṣòwò kíni ó máa rèrè ọmọ ìrìnbánu pẹ́ẹ́nà ilé kìbà Ọ̀rúnmìlà ṣòwò kíni ó máa rèrè ilé ìrìnbánu pẹ́ẹ́nà ẹṣin kìbà Ọ̀rúnmìlà ṣòwò kíni ó máa rèrè ẹṣin. Èṣin ńlá o, máa kún ṣá owó, àyàmọ́ bí ìṣìkẹ́kọ̀ọ́ lọ́ba ní Ifá. Èṣin ńlá o, máa kún ṣá owó. Ẹ̀rí o bá kọjá òfé, ọ̀jọ̀ sí ọ̀gbà kò sí gbá, ìwọ̀fá kó dàgbà kó níyàn sí, olówó rẹ̀ mọ́ Ifá fún bọ̀pọ̀, ọ̀kan lẹ́yìn wo ìmọ̀lé wọn lọ rẹ fara sọ̀fà lọ́dọ̀ ọ̀run ẹ̀rọ̀pọ̀ ẹ̀rọ̀fà ọ̀run kíyà ẹni lọ́fà ká mọ̀rọ̀ rẹ jẹ́ àṣẹ o àṣẹ wá. Àbọ̀rú àbọ̀yẹ àbọ̀ ṣíṣe àbọ̀ àtọ̀ sórí ògúrò òfun. This is Babo Pesamo Ifá Korede Fadairo. I am appreciate everybody for coming in as you're coming in, and also appreciate all those that have taken time to come by and sit. Hopefully I can get we can talk today. For whatever reason I could not. Hopefully we can today. So my main thing is to get rid of these. Get rid of these. People are trying to get on here. So my point has been really busy lately, so that's why I haven't got a chance to come in here as much and as often as I would like, or late as I would like. So definitely definitely come through. I appreciate you coming through now and spend time with me, because you don't have to. You could have done and been a lot of places. Mardi Gras? Is Mardi Gras right now? Did not know it. I don't know. And I'm not in the places that Mardi Gras would be. Don't know. But happy to all those folks who are celebrating that, doing your thing. Today, though, I want to talk about consistent study. Because to know, this is why the topic was to know, is to consistently study. And the lives are great. Lives are good, but lives are not steady. Because to study means that you physically are coming in and you're studying one-on-one. There's no books that you can get a hold of that you can fully study from. It doesn't matter which books or what things that are there. There is no such thing as a book. But there are no books. There's nothing that you can physically pick up and say, okay, now I study IFA. Now I'm an IFA practitioner. Or now I'm a this, I'm a that, right? Or now that because I went to have one divination, I have all the knowledge I need. And so it's interesting because when we do look at these things, we have to be very careful when people say that they've studied or they have fully initiated into something or they've opened up something or they've had like an experience. Because someone says, oh, I'm an initiate of IFA. But come to find out they only have a hand of IFA. That's not an initiate of anything, right? So even, there's different stories, there's different things, different ways that people do things, right? Within that same vein, though, just because somebody has a hand or maybe they have a bunch of aleke that they wear, and again, no disrespect to any tradition that does do that, just know that that's not an initiation. Full initiation is going through the grove of whatever it is that you sought to do or connect to, right? Fully. Each tradition has its own ways of doing it. Each tradition has its own ways of connecting to it. But ultimately, it is through study and going through the grove. Because just because you go through a grove or something doesn't mean you know something either. You could have just strictly been initiated. And so, good point though, because just because you have a hand, your name, actually the name that dictates you comes from two places. That's your destiny and things like that, right? I mean, Esentaye, when you were first born, 3 years after you're born, you get a name, things like that, right? Because it's easy for anybody to get jump on board and check out Google and Yoruba names and whatever names, whatever traditions, and pick a name out of the hat. I'll pick this name out of the hat. Doesn't have any purpose or meaning if that's not necessarily what it is that your flow or your destiny is, right? That means something completely different. If it's strictly something that you've gotten out like out of Cracker Jack box, and I'm being facetious, but seriously, because anybody can go online and order ileke. Anybody can go online and order Ikini Fa. They can. Right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that they've been initiated into anything or that they have anything. Right? Study is key to a lot of these things as well. To have a good understanding so that you won't get duped. Please like, subscribe, share, follow. Because these things are really important to understand, because when you look at these things, anybody can dupe you into believing anything. If they have a good rap, they can have a good story, they have a good whatever that they want to say, it can have you believe whatever underneath the sun that they want to. That's fact. All right? Because when you allow someone to physically, thank you, we allow someone physically to come in and tell you that they have information to give you, but you've yet to talk to them directly or clearly, or that they're very arrogant, and maybe that's just their style of doing things and teaching, because everybody has a certain style of doing things, right? That's not my style, but that is a lot of people's style. But when you look at that, and you say, if you've been there for a month, been there for 3 weeks, been there for 3 months, 6 months, a year, What exactly are you seeking to gain? That's really on you. What are you seeking to gain? If you want somebody just to tell you what you want to hear, you want somebody to make you feel good, get some rhetoric up in the mix, you're not learning. You're just being told what to hear, what you want to hear. Right? IFA is meant to disrupt things. It is, in a lot of ways. To make things smooth in your life, to disrupt things that are causing blockages in your life, to open up doorways and pathways in your life. But it's never just to tell you what exactly you want to hear. Believe me, there's many times I've gone to IFA and IFA. It's not told me what I want to hear. I'll tell you that much. Sometimes it's like that, right? So, but we have to be very honest with ourselves when we come to IFA. That this is not tarot cards. This is not pendulum. This is not, rhetoric alley. Somebody studying, when you seek to fully, intently, directly study, that there is the only time that a person really should think about the things that they're dealing with. If they're not studying and not getting anything in the study. So first check and see, okay, what's this person's learning style? They have a certain kind of learning style that they deal with, right? Because those things are also very much so that's not necessarily that's not IFA though. You know what I mean? Because people that have tarot cards, that do things, that do whatever, that's your thing, right? Don't disguise it though as IFA. Those that know that they'll never do that, right? Because that's foolish. You think you're gonna get some major information from tarot cards? Nah. There's no Odu attached. There's nothing attached that will give you anything that you can go back to. Because ultimately, is the person's download. And that's fine. But that's not IFA. And there's really nothing there for you to study when somebody does that with you. There's nothing to study. Right? And so that's why I always say that directly, is that when we think of study, we think of something that is consistent. That you're studying with someone directly, clearly. Not just getting something from out the blue. Because there are many ways to learn, there's no doubt. But study is constant. It's not you tourist in, you tourist out, and you're good to go and you move on with your life. That's not study. And those that study like that will get what they study. There's not much that you'll gain from doing those kinds of things, though. It's not. Right? And why is it not that way? Because generally, when somebody is seeking to study, no matter what obligations they have outside that study, they're plowing their head into it 100%. It's not like I'll dibble-dabble here, and I'll dibble-dabble there, and I'll dibble-dabble here, and I'll dibble-dabble there. When somebody's fully committed to studying and gaining something, regardless of what it is, they're fully committed to that study. Direct study. Clear study. And that's why I said study to know is a study constant. That's the name of the theme today. Right? Because when you're not, even when you have, I remember my first Aluo who initiated me to IFA. Had a lot of different, kinds of, a bunch of verses he recited consistently. But you know what he had to do on a daily basis? Go through those verses in his mind. Because you know why? That strengthens the mind. And you're constantly going through these things. Now, it's not only just about verses. Dispel that as well. Because study is not strictly just about verses. If you only know verses but don't know the nuances of those verses and how those verses actually act and what it is that you actually do and what's the messages in the verses and how to do it, you can memorize something all day long. But if you have not fully integrated what it is, the background and the meaning of that verse is and how to use that verse properly, and the medicines that are in that verse or the things that you do specifically when that verse comes up, right? Or when that Odu comes up, that's also very important. So there's so much more than just strictly verses. That's why when you get a book and you say it has 50 million verses in there, doesn't mean anything to you if you've never been initiated. Doesn't mean anything to you if you haven't really received it from your luo, somebody that you're studying with. Because you can get a lot of verses and you see their translation, but some things just don't translate consistently. You waste your time with pure exactly. You waste your time with pure memorization. It's true. It's very true. But that has its purpose too, though. It does. I would say that it does. Memorizing and going through and have an understanding of these verses have its purpose too, because that's where things go in. So, for example, I always take it back to me with Agbigba. There are a lot of nuances in Agbigba that you will not have in Ikini 5, that you will not have in Opole. You just won't have it there. It just won't be there. It's a different tool, right? Just like I was listening to some of the other lives, and I remember Monroe had made a good point. He was like, Aziza wasn't something that you saw in a major town and they were just around and about. They were deep in places, right? So there's information sometimes that you'll never get unless you travel, unless you connect with somebody that has that information, right? There are many things that can be done here in the States, and there's many things that cannot be. Just facts, right? Meaning obtaining these things, learning these things. But when you connect with somebody, when you do travel, and you do connect with certain information, there's certain things that people won't know. Right, exactly. There's certain things that you just won't know. You just won't know. Unless you've had somebody directly to teach you. So what does that mean? Does that mean anybody from the States, oh, you live in the States, you'll never get a true study, you'll never understand real blah, blah, blah. Nope, that doesn't mean that either. Because you can connect to a good teacher, that one that truly seeks to teach you, that is compatible with your temperament, compatible with who you are, with your ori. Right? But sometimes we have to let go of our own ego to understand and to learn. Sometimes we get so caught up in everything that we want to hear that we never really want to listen to what person actually has to teach you. Right? And I put that on myself in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of times where I have a set thing in my mind and I want to learn this thing, and I'm building with my luo and we're going through X, Y, and Z. And then it's like, wait a minute, let me be quiet. Let me listen to actually what's being said. Because he has greater insight to this information I'm seeking to gain. And there's something that he is a way, the style that he teaches. So let me listen to what he's saying. Right? And that's important to understand, because the deeper you get into study, if you choose or not to choose to get into dealing with Agbigba or getting Agbigba divination, neither here nor there. Study in general. But I know with Agbigba, you have to study. Study sometimes it's not, you get things, you study things, you develop these things, and then you go I'll go back to my luo and be like, Baba, this. Oh yeah, let's deal with this a little deeper, because this is something that needs to be dealt with. And maybe a lot of people don't even understand it. But I want you to understand it greater, right? And so he'll do that for me. Because there's a lot of things that people shout out or talk about, or maybe reading a book one time, or maybe they get certain things and they say, this is the way that it is. But is that truly the way it is? Or is that just a lineage way? And there's one way of doing things. I say, I flip a saying around. It's like, instead of there's many ways to skin a cat, I say there's many ways to feed a bird. Or teach a bird. Right? Because it is. There's so many things, so many ways, and so many angles, that there is never just one way. Ever. But when you begin to study, fully study, then you fully understand what it is that's being taught to you first. And then you start going into X, Y, and Z. when you first get into a system and you begin to just like, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, I got this from this book, and I got this from this book, and I got this from this book, you're going to be 100% confused. Why? Because you're not taking time to learn anything. You just want bits and pieces so that it sounds good. And that's irrelevant. That's silly. Because you're only harming and hurting yourself when you do things like that. Because the more that you do that, the more that you actually allow yourself to get confused with many things. Because you can go from one teacher, from Ekiti, in Ologbo Ekiti, and you go to another teacher in Ota, you go to another teacher in Dahomey, go to another teacher. You get many different ways to approach to something on a consistent basis. And none of them are wrong. But trying to study them all at one time would drive you crazy. Because you're trying to put all of them in one thing. Now, that's different if you had a teacher and you study with that teacher for a certain amount of time, you get a good understanding of that thing that you're studying here, and then you may go back and study it in another way, in another place. Like, subscribe, diamonds, share, follow. Definitely drop some diamonds and some coins and things out there. And I'm gonna put my Cash App up here, so you can, not merely just come by and take, but also balance things out. So, and thank you for all those that have done that. I appreciate it. Because I seek to share information that is relevant not only to myself but to others, relevant to how I was taught and to things that I've learned from my teachers and from my own discoveries in the tradition. It's never a good idea to discount everything that you've learned in your life, but it's also really good to understand when you approach something new that you allow yourself to be open enough to truly and fully ingest it. Sorry. Ingest that information. Because now people can come and get a notebook full of stuff that they think that they know, now that they've heard it. But it's a point of study and how to study. Now, as we all know, we all went to some summer school, whether it be elementary, middle school, high school, or some college, or whatever the case may be, right? Or just learning something on your own in general. Each time you do that, you have to commit to study. Commit to study. Not commit to just, I'm only going to take this information, and then miss out on a whole thing that actually was trying to be said, right? That's why I said to know is to study consistently. Because we don't want to just strictly surface. Surface will never get you anywhere. Actually, get you nowhere. It sounds good. That's why if somebody is strictly going through things for surface purposes only, that's all that they'll do. They'll go through surface things and want surface things to be the things that's going to aid them and help them and guide them and teach them into whatever it is that they seek to accomplish. Right? But if you're only going through surface things, that's like, for example, if you were to go through, not just this tradition, if you went through Taoism, if you only read a book about it, one book, and you'd be like, I know everything there is to know about Taoism because I read a book, then you'll be sorely lost. In the same way, if you went to any science, same thing. Just as if you come to IFA or any Yoruba tradition or affiliated kingdoms or studies, any African traditional system in general, it's not something that you just randomly pick up and you put down. Now you got everything that you need, because there is no book. There may be things written, but that doesn't mean that there are books that teach. All right, so let me get some feedback because I've been talking a little bit. Plus, I want likes, subscribes, shares, all that good stuff to come up. Especially when we, share times, we share space, we share information. It's good to have a good understanding of what that information is. It's not just from selective picking, selective study. It's good to be selective, but also good to hone in, focus in, root yourself in, and it's a true study. Right? True study does not come from a book. There are aspects of study that do, but a true study comes outside of a book. True study comes into the notion of being able to open things up, fully explore information, even if you're going strictly through books, which is never suggested. Because to say that you know quantum physics by learning something out of a book only, or you know all that there is about mathematics by having one math class in high school, you'll be sorely lost. Because most of the math that we study in school is limited. It's based off of the other things that you go deeper into, but it's limited. So that's why it's good to open up those doorways and go deeper. Right? What does that mean to study, though? To take something in, to fully ingest it, to associate it with your daily life and routine, and then being able to not regurgitate it, but really have a good understanding of it from your own understanding of what that information. Same thing with a divination. Somebody gets a divination. That divination automatically is not just from the basis of this is information I'm getting. I'm done with the information. I'm good. Nope, because you gotta live that experience. Hey, buddy, you live in that experience, 100%. If divination is giving you information, then you gotta live it. That experience. That's why we do Ebo. Arun is the correct title for the Irumale. Okay. So when you go into study and you choose a subject that you study, then you really want to make sure, Alicia, where did she go? She came in and came out. It's good to come in and see what it is that you can gain from it. Right? Because gaining study is not only from being able to take. That's what me and my daughter had this conversation, so I'm talking about this too. Right. Hola. Boye. How are you, Alicia? Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. But it's really important to come in and think about just in case you missed it, Alicia. The topic today is to know. Oh, good. I'm glad you could. I've been meaning to call you too. To know is to study constantly. Really, even conscientiously. To study constantly. Right? The more that you study, the more you have an idea of what this is. Just like if we're just talking about strictly verses, which we're not. If you just talk about a verse, if you have the right tone of that verse, if you have the flow of the verse, this is not even getting into the actual meat potatoes, if you will, of that verse, of the medicines and the X, Y, and Z and all that stuff that's in there. But if you have those things, you start to begin to study it and go over 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 and go over. at a certain point, it becomes a part of you because you are invested in it and is ingested in you. Even though nuance, the tonations, everything, you're just going and it flows. It becomes a part of you. Right? Even just reciting a verse. Right? And then another level of that verse is to really understand the nuances of what it's saying to you. And then from there, what exactly is being brought forth? What's being brought forth? What's being awakened? What's being talked about? What's being dealt with inside of the verse? Who are the characters in that verse? How are they interacting with each other? How are they actually speaking specifically? Right? So, generally, I'll say the verse in Yoruba, or sometimes not, for the client, and then I'll explain it in English. But most of the time, I just explain English because saying something in Yoruba to somebody is irrelevant if they don't understand it. If they don't understand Yoruba, so I'll go through it in English, 99 point times out of 10, right? Because the goal is for you to understand the verse and to what the Odu is saying, right? Because what the Odu is speaking of is very clear. And we may not want to hear what the Odu is saying, but the Odu is very clear. And you go to places and spaces to learn because you seek to gain a better understanding of that learning from that person. That's where your Ori guided you there in the first place. And that's important, because the more you learn, the more that you're responsible for. So as you begin to see it, as you begin to develop it, as you begin to go into it, then that's when you say, oh, okay, what are the things that I really want to know in this whatever, right? What do I want to see? What do I want to understand in this? What do I want to talk about? What do I want to understand in this conversation or in this thing that we're dealing with, specifically at that particular time? What is it? How does it function? How does it look? How does it go into anything other than just what we specifically say or see, right? And that's using our physical senses and things like that, of course. That's also using our ori inu. Some people say higher self. Some people go into many other words and semantics or whatever. We're talking about our ori inu is our soul, our fate, our destiny. So when we understand, we talk about IFA, you speak about it from that perspective. From the perspective of fully ingesting the information. That's why I record it for people. So that you go through it and you listen intently to detail for detail. That's why generally, like, I can divine for myself, and I do. But when it comes down to my birthday or something, I go to my Alugo and get a divination. Because I'm not immune to it. You know what I mean? There's always someone greater than self. So, because I'll see everything that's there and I'll go through it and I'll everything that's there for me to understand in that Odu will come up. Just like it would if my Aluo did it for me. To study, though, take it even deeper than that. Because since everyone has a teacher or someone greater than self, meaning in the study that you seek to obtain, then you go back to that elder and you study with that elder. Or you go to wherever else you do study. We don't do it to hear what we want to hear only. We go into it to truly push the boundaries of what it is that we have. That's why we study. That's the point of studying, is to push the boundaries of what you think that you have. Sometimes what we think that we have is good. All our experiences are well and fine and good for us. That's where we start from. That's our foundation. We start at our experiences. Thank you for the lightning. I appreciate it. We start at those experiences. And from those experiences, then we push it further and further and further. Expand greater and greater and greater. And the more that we are able to do that, the greater we're able to actually develop and grow. Because if you can't grow from your own experiences and then learning from those experiences and applying them, they can never become wisdom if you don't apply the things that you've experienced in your life. If you can't apply them, if you only have them, that's like storing billions of pounds of gold, and it just sits there. What's the use to having it? You're not breaking it down and using it. It's sitting there. Right? It's useless until it's applied to something. Right? In one way or the other. When we gain something, we seek to apply it in our life. Some things are strictly for our spiritual growth, for ourselves. Other things are for, thank you, fellow. Appreciate it. We also seek, I'll come up in a bit. Okay, no problem. I get it. Eating is good. I say that like, subscribe, follow, share. But there are a lot of things that we attach ourselves to, or say that we are a part of, or say that we are this, or say that we are that, or say that we are seeking this, or say that we are seeking that. But how many of us truly study that daily? Or take a step back from there. I want to be this. I want this in my life. I want that to happen in my life. Now, it's not about just saying that I want it. You have to go seek it. You have to go apply it. You have to go seek out people who have it that will aid you on your path in gaining it. Right? It's never just a hand-me-down. Even if you have the most powerful natural gifts in the world, it's still, you have to hone in and understand how to use them. Facts. Because you have many gifts, but if you don't know how to use it, it's just like that billions and billions of pounds of gold. If it's just sitting there, it's useless. Pointless. If you don't know how to use it wisely. You can have a gift and you can go at it like 24/7, and I'm doing this and I got this and and then get drained. Why am I so drained? Why am I like, my body feels like it's about to fall apart. Well, I got all these cancers and I got all this stuff because I've tried to obtain all this stuff, and now I'm like this all the time, right? Do you know how to open it? Do you know how to close it? Do you know how to use it wisely? Because it's true. People can have many, many, many gifts. And that's not even to deny, because Olodumare gives you things from that's embedded into your Ori Inu. That's why you have your Ori Inu. That's why nobody else has your Ori but you. Nobody has it but you. You are the only one that has it in existence. Because it is destined for you to live a certain life here on earth. It's not for anybody else to teach you. Anybody can teach you. But it's not for somebody else to live that Ori for you. but it is you that must live it. At a certain point, you gain things, you obtain things from people and elders and things like that. But the only way that you're truly going to uplift it and truly awaken it is dealing with these experiences that you got to deal with. There's no way around it. There's no way to just like sidestep it. You can't just like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, da, da, da. I got all these gifts, I don't gotta do nothing. Okay, so you sit there idly and do what? Right? Somebody that knows that is a genius. Say, for example, I don't really like to use that word genius because it's anybody that puts time, energy, and effort to anything, they can become a genius at whatever, right? Because they focus, a whole focus is there. The electric slide to the left, right? But you have to hone in on it. Somebody has to nurture it. You have to build off of it. How do I use it properly so I don't harm myself or others? Think about why when people come back from any initiation, I don't care where, I'm not going to even delineate it from this place or that place or this lineage or that lineage. If you get initiated to anything, or you got a household full of Orishas, but don't know what to do with them, they're just sitting there. You're not propitiating them. You're not nothing. There's nothing there. You're not doing anything. Just sitting there. Just having them there means nothing. Doesn't give you anything. Doesn't obtain anything. Doesn't guide you to anything. Because when you don't commune or build with them, feed them, connect to them, understand it, internalize them, because all the Orishas are inside of us. Facts. But it doesn't mean you just kind of one day I jump up one day without the initiation and have the, he said a chair is just a chair even when no one is sitting there. Yeah, it goes, right? You can have many things. And if you invited them in your house, willingly or unwillingly, by allowing other people to do work that you don't know. If you personally don't know how to deal with them, it is irrelevant to your life. Because it is you that have to deal with them on a daily basis. It's you that have to study. It's you that have to open up that doorway and build a relationship with. As with a teacher. You have to build a relationship with a teacher. You have to develop a relationship with a teacher. You have to be able to have a conversation and beyond even the spiritual aspects of learning from that teacher. Because you got to know who you're dealing with. What kind of personality, who they are, what they do, how they do it. So that you can understand how they teach and how you can learn from it, the situation. It's on you. So many teachers in the world. You have to really take there's been times, okay, put it like this. There's been times where I have had teachers that spoke not one lick of English. Whew. I let that ruminate for a minute. People think it's hard now. Got information. Try learning from somebody that don't speak no English. But you really got to pay attention. Hear what they're saying so that you can understand it clearly and really make sure that you have a good standing and things with them so that they can fully give you the information that you can do. I've had one person try to, back in the days, that quickly changed though, that tried to, yeah, we're not going to do that right now. Give me information without saying, okay, find somebody to to translate it for you. No, 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 no. No, I'm getting this information, so I need to understand, even in a little bit of English that you do know, explain it to me so that I have a good understanding of how you see this and how I'm learning it from you. Right? That's hard. In person and otherwise. So to learn, to study, especially in the States, I'll say that. When you first start to study in the States, there's so many things and so many books. It's like, a perfect example of that is when you go to Burkina Faso and you go into a grocery store or a stall. All the stalls have the same exact things. Each stall you go to, it's the same exact thing. Right? You come to the States, for the most part, and you go into a grocery store, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of products that you don't even need. Right? But it's there. Or when we come to the internet, we just get exposed to thousands and thousands and thousands of conspiracy theories and ways to do this, and this is the way to What's your focus? It's easy to take millions of different things and just hodgepodge it together, but what is your focus? What are you exactly focusing upon? Right? So that you have a good foundation to build from. Because if you don't have a good foundation, then you'll surely lose out and be very confused quickly. Or expose yourself to things that you do not need to expose yourself to at all. Let that digest for a minute. When you study, you're giving yourself an option. Even if it's strictly book study. I'll say that. Even if you choose to go even if you have even if you have a book, if you don't look at the references and take it verbatim what they're saying, if they have no references, if there's nothing to cross-reference a book, as like in Wikipedia, for example, right? Then you can get hocus pocus halitosis all you want to, and that sounds great. Fill you up and feed you up, right? Everything you need to know because you went to TikTok University of some sort, Instagram University, Internet University. Those things are very limiting at best. So that's why people have so many arguments on the internet. You gotta notice how the more the conscious the group, you get on that bad boy, them cats is cackling and woofing and bullying every other second and going on and on and on and on and on and on about nothing. Have you seen that little thing on TikTok where you go, huh! And then so basically their movement is making this little bitty piece of aluminum foil or whatever just move. Well, the air that you push is what is going to it and pushing it. Ooh. Cracks me up. But I mean, where's the study? Where's the things actually that you are actually seeking to do with any of these? Whatever. Right. But where does it actually go? What's the goal? I can out-talk you. I can out-woof you. I can out this. I can out that. I can push this rhetoric on you to make you believe X, Y, and Z. Great. Now what? Now what does that look like? How does that actually help you in your life, or anybody else for that matter? What actually are you doing in your daily life? Use your chi to move a piece of foil. Right. Ooh, I scared now. No, so that's where it's really foolish. And I said foolish. I mean it. In a lot of ways, when things come, thank you, 100 watts. To think about these things, to get caught up in these things, that take no study. It doesn't have any really point to it, other than the hocus pocus halimatosis, the Barnum and Bailey circus show. So what? Now what? It's not to call anybody out. Just really just say, what are you really looking to spend your time with? To know is to study consistently. To understand is to internalize it. Ta-da! Dragon Ball Z techniques. You're funny. But it's true. I mean, you can, what's the purpose? What does that serve? What are you seeking to serve and do in your life? What's your life purpose? What are you doing in that purpose? Is it strictly to get online and to wolf and bull for hours at a time? Sit in there with your titties out? What does that do? How does that help anybody? What's that? What are you? Okay, good for you. What's the? Yeah, I was in Tumblr. What's the purpose of any of those things? What are you seeking to gain? Money? Money is temporary. Comes and goes and comes again. And goes again. What's your experiences? Not everybody, I know I'm not trying to preach, whatever. It is what it is. Some people like to be wooed. Some people like the shiny stuff. I was watching this thing with Umar, Dr. Umar, and it's interesting. Whether you like him or don't like him or whatever, it's irrelevant. Because the thing was, it was interesting for me was looking at that. I was sitting there, and it was a preacher on the side of him, and he had this big gaudy, goldy. He had all this jewelry and all this stuff on, and this gaudy, goldy stuff that was going on with him. And Umar was sitting there on a couch. So I said, "What's the purpose of all of the other gold and all of the other stuff? What does that do for you? It's more like a pimp than anything else. What's the point of that? How'd that help you?" Hey, Abora Boye, silent wisdom.
But yeah, what she say?
How are you?
Good. I'm
Good, good,
break.
good, 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 good. Did you hear the topic?
Not really.
Yeah.
You didn't hear the topic. The topic was to know is to study constantly.
Baba, do you have a filter on? Because sometimes your face warps.
Say it again.
You have a filter on? Sometimes your face warps. It's kind of funny.
I don't know if it's the internet that's there or something. I don't know. Because I see it too on this side. And it goes. Brrr. I don't know what that is. I really don't. But I don't have any filter or anything like that on there. You know, maybe it's up there and I don't even know. But I didn't put any filter up there consciously. What was that silent wisdom? You said probably.
I was saying you probably do have a filter on just by the way it moves.
Oh, you think so? Chaotic energies. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. I don't think I do though. Because it would be under enhanced and all that kind of stuff, right? If I did. Yeah.
Mm,
Motivation.
or maybe like effects or something like that.
It's under enhance.
Nah, there's nothing on there. Let me see. Put it to 0. Is that better? That's better for me. All right. Chaotic energy. You can come up. Oh, you can't come up. Okay. I don't know why that works for some, so it doesn't work for others. So that's really the topic to know. So why am I I'm picking topics like this? I'm picking topics like this because it's not it's like, oh, let's talk about Orisha today. Let's talk about such and such today. I was really talking about these concepts that when we talk about it, and I think, you know what, I just saw it flutter a little bit. I think it's um my internet, because it or my lighting or whatever. Um, the reason why I picked topics like this, unwaveringly focused was one of them, right? Um, or what was another one that I said recently? I can't think of anyone right now. But I'm saying these sayings or things, or no, ego and arrogance is the demise of a Babalao. I think that one of them I said. But the reason I say stuff like that is because these things that people are thinking when it comes to the tradition, when it comes to study, when it comes to these things that people are pulling up these smoke screens and putting this stuff in. But what exactly is the purpose? You know, so that's why when I say, I don't know why he could come up before and he can't come up now. Chaotic energy. That's interesting. Thank you for that. Those roses, though. Um, Like for example, today with, and it really comes out a lot of the study that I do. I sit back and I'm studying. I'm going through things, um, going back through older things or going back through older notes that I've had from way back in the days, and reintroducing myself to things that I've maybe put to the side and accounted more. So like a lot of things lately, what I've been doing is going into things like when I first started. I'm thinking about all the things I was thinking at that particular time, you know, um, and it makes me chuckle because that's why I said to know is to study constantly, right? And that's really where that title, that topic came from, is because I was going through things. Because basically, what's today? Today's the 9th or the 10th now. I think it may be the 10th. This is the day. The 10th is the day that I came out of the Grove. So many years ago. The Grove of IFA. And when I came out that Grove, you know how the old saying is, if I knew now what if I can know what I know now, then I'd have been a beast, right? But you have to go through these experiences. You have to go through these things to have a better understanding of these things that you have in front of you or you have in your hands. That's why I said, go ahead. Oh, I thought somebody heard somebody come in. Um, it does flutter. I just saw to do it. Um, but that's where when I go back and look at those, even rudimentary ways of throwing obi about the divination, cola nut. The way that I used to do it and the way that I do it now, completely changed. You know how I teach people, completely changed. Um, because time and experience is how you learn and adjust to people that come. Certain things you give out when you're teaching, certain things you don't, not right away. And I never understood that when I dealt with with elders. Why can't I just have that information now so that it can aid me now? Maybe you're not ready. Not everybody's ready for everything. I think about that because when I was studying those things at that particular time, I could even see how I was taking notes. Because most of the times they would never allow me to record ever. So me recording for folks, believe me, that is a privilege. We didn't have nowhere near the amount of devices that people can record on or have in the past. Wasn't there. If they let you write it down at all. There was some teachers that I had that you had to memorize it. And the next time I talked to them, or next time I went out to Nigeria, I had to be able to recite it and know it verbatim. And so if I didn't get it that time, I'm jacked in the smack because I'm gonna hear it. In a way, though, that was good training, though, because I couldn't rely on anything that I wrote down or uh, that I recorded. Because I remember when I first even started at that point with my Lou and Agbigba, IFA Agbigba, and I remember at the beginning he wouldn't let me record or write down anything. He's like, memorize it, think about it, ingest it, take it in, awaken within it, ruminate with it. And my Bob was educated. But really think about what it is that you're dealing with. Because it's so important when dealing with an oral tradition to really take heed of those nuances and what you're learning. Because there's so many different nuances that come up and inside of a study of Fa in general, and in other aspects and angles of learning within the tradition as a whole. So many nuances. And the more that you begin to do those, understand those nuances, the more that you understand, oh, that's what they were talking about. Like I just got a few aha moments this week. This was the week that I was in the Grove, of course, so many years ago. But I just realized certain things about what I was told in the Grove. I even had a dream about it. Dreams are pretty vivid. How sometimes dreams are the things that you're seeing because it is something that you've gone through, and your subconscious is going back through it and looking at it from different angles and different characters that were there. And then how I see it these days is that I'm physically there, not as me, but as the one that was behind me as I was going through these situations and learning in the Grove. Right? Like, well, this is new, because as we begin to open up those doorways in a way, the process of learning and how you learn, and the more that you respect learning, like literally learning, right? Because again, like I always say, I'm a bibliophile. I love to read and study. So even now, even when I read a book that's not even is related to IFA, because it has the same kind of context, but it is not related to IFA in the way that they're writing it. But I see it from multiple angles. I'm present there when they're writing it. I'm present there as they're going through these characters and these things and these aspects and these ways of thinking and how these things are being fleshed out in that present moment. As I'm there with my Lul, my very first Lul who initiated me to Ifa, before I got to the Grove, as we entered the Grove, before I got into the Grove, we went through these divinations, like countless divinations, just to make sure that I was safe going in, and everybody that was with there, all the Babalaos and all of the people that were there that were going into the Grove were also safe, right? And looking back at those things, like, wow, any one thing could have thrown everything off. That's what I'm thinking about. Any one process, if it was done incorrectly, someone could have not have come out of that grove. Very powerful to think about things like that. Can I go into what it was? No, I cannot, obviously. But it was just that, when you go back and really think about a situation, I think how it impacted you. Like how I think about how those things impacted me in my life to where I am now in my life. Where would I have been if I hadn't had IFA in my life? But then I have to also think about IFA has always been there, as well as with all the other things that I've had with me, have always been there. Always. But with a teacher, those teachers here on earth and in my egg bay, teaching me how to deal with these things, information and otherwise. What does it mean to Abora Aboye, to connect to these things, to build with them? And so it's important to open up that doorway in a lot of ways to think as we are able to take in information in a way that makes it possible to understand it. It's important because you can take information. Abora Aboye.
Abulu Abuye Abushishe. It's a pleasure to be in your presence again, brother. I can't hear you.
Yeah, what the topic was? Did you hear what the
Fix it,
topic
baby.
was? Can you hear me?
My wife trying to fix my thing. It's bugging out.
So, in the midst of that, though, hold on, we'll come back. In the midst of that, Monroe or Silent Wisdom, has anybody, you have anything you want to chime in with? Hello?
Me?
Oh, Silent Wisdom, anyone? Anybody?
No, I'm just listening right now. Just based off of the topic, you're basically saying that to know is to continuously study, because like you always say, like people don't know, well, people don't know everything, and the more you study, like the more you know, and even then, you still won't know like everything.
Exactly. Because, I mean, think about it. When you were a toddler and you gained certain understanding how a word sounded, you like to say that word all the time, especially if it was like catchy, right? Especially if a word that you wasn't supposed to say, right? But you said it because you got a reaction out of some people. You know what I'm saying? So then, as you get older, it's like, okay, that was funny when you were 2. Now you're like 10. That's not funny no more. You sound like a 2-year-old, right? It's like that growth point. I was like, I remember seeing how, just thinking about my daughter when she was a munchkin, meaning, knee high, private eye, I used to call her, and her understanding of things now at 18, almost, going toward 19, is different than her understanding of what it was things were when she was a year and a half, a knee high private eye, you know, though she was very perceptive then. Um, and I think that's important to realize is that every time you go into something or knowledge base of something, there's the knowledge base, there is the aha moment of that knowledge base, and then there is the next level of understanding that aha moment. Because you can get an aha moment, but if you don't understand it and the principles and how to use it, it's irrelevant information. It's like I said, you can have billions and billions of pounds of gold, but if it's just sitting there, it means nothing. Holds no weight. What are you using it for? What's the purpose of it? Right? Um, so that's I like how you said that too. It's like, well, there's certain levels of learning and knowing. silent wisdom. At a certain point, you know them, and then you know it better. And so that I think that's where before you even get to IFA, way before you get to IFA, way before you get to Orisha, way before you get to understanding anything other than in those things. It's really good to understand the necessary fortitude or focus that it takes to even engage with your own Ori. So before you get to your own Ori, you have to learn certain things that you have a foundation of to build from. Tommy, are you up and mobile now with your mic? I don't know if you can hear me. Tommy? Okay, good, good.
I hear you, Baba.
So did you hear what I was saying about the topic today?
Yes, I did.
Did you want to chime in a little bit about that? Okay. I don't want to just be a talking head. I want people to interact.
Hold on. I need to come out because I'm the way my volume is set up. It's not working properly. I'm gonna come out and come back in.
Is it low?
Yeah, it's really low. It's it's,
Okay.
it's really acting up. So I'm gonna come out of it completely. Then I'm gonna come right back in.
So Moreau, I didn't mean to jump over you. Any highlights, insights, low lights and low rights? Monroe, hello, Monroe.
What's up?
I was just saying, chiming in.
Um, I kind of agree with everything you said so far. I was kind of shocked. Some stuff, yeah, it kind of triggered me a little bit. I was like, yeah, you're reminding me of some things. Um, yeah, like I said, I'm designing some stuff right now. I'm listening, and the carnival people are coming home drunk and ringing the buzzer. So I didn't want to
Oh, got you.
turn on the mic for that either.
Got. Want to engage everybody that's there. But Tommy, you're back. Uh,
Monroe, are you in New Orleans?
he's in Brazil.
He's in Brazil. Okay, okay, okay,
Um,
okay. Carnival is Brazil. You're right. You're right. Pardon me, brother. I was listening to everything and piggybacking off of that, like it is it's a lot. And we have to be vigilant with all these things and so that we know exactly what's coming at us and what we're seeing, what we're hearing, and what we are developing within ourselves and within what's being brought to us. So everything that you said has been spot on, and you're one of few on this app, Monroe included as well, because I've listened to him as well, who actually gives an accurate account of things, and I appreciate you for it.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for coming in. How's things been going? I haven't talked to you in a minute.
Um, Things have actually been pretty good. It's developing well as far as my journey and the personal things I've talked to you about. That stuff that the personal things I told you about, what I said has manifested itself. So so things, yeah. Which is one of the reasons why you ain't seen me as much more, because I've really been in the trenches with that. But um, I'm happy with things are going. I'm happy with my current situation. I'm happy how my beginning of the year reading has progressed itself, and things are going well. Things are going well, and I'm looking forward to reconnecting with you now that I have a solid progression of where I'm going.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, nah,
Am I?
aboy. Hey, Tommy. reverb in the background. Say, abo yeah.
Abo yeah, abo shishe.
I like you just woke up. Okay. It is 3 hours ahead there, huh? It's almost midnight. Almost 3 o'clock in the morning. It's almost midnight here. I got out that tub. Which when you in the tub, you start thinking about stuff too. So I was talking about earlier how I don't know if you caught the topic of the live, which is topic is to know is to study consistently. Um, and I was sitting in the tub, but before then, today because it's about to be midnight, and that was the last day in the Grove for me, so many years ago. It's interesting too because that in itself pushed me to go back to look at all the notes and all the recordings I did have, which barely got, but all those things that I ingested or dealt with or connected to. Hello?
Pardon me, Baba. I'm going to come out of my page and I'm gonna go on because my phone is acting up and I'm going on from my wife's page. So it's gonna be Chef Shajada.
I'm going on my backup.
She's going on her backup page, and then I'm when you see that one, it's me, but I'm gonna use hers because my phone is acting crazy.
Stay live.
Stay.
Stay live real quick so I
Okay.
can get into the live. There we go.
Right. Um. So yeah, that's primarily what I was just thinking about.
She just sent the request.
Oh, yeah, I think I just saw that come up earlier too. Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Back in the flesh without the face.
Hey.
That's why you need an iPhone, not an Android.
Yeah,
Whatever.
you know what?
Oh,
I got an iPhone too. That's facts.
shots fired! Shots fired!
That's why you need an iPhone, not an Android.
Shots fired!
That's facts. Oh, you know what was funny? I
That
saw
was a very quick transition.
right.
Oh, Monroe! Damn!
Hold on. Let me follow. There we go.
I,
You see how you do me, brother, man? Come on, Monroe.
Uh, hey, I was just, it was set up. Sorry. It was
Ah, damn! My people doing me dirty.
hey, as long as you got to, that's the whole point, right? You here with us.
I'm
That's
here
what.
with you guys. I'm here with you guys. I'm going back on mute.
So Tommy, before you go on mute, um, so I'm talking about E5, but I'm also talking about study in general, right? So I definitely want you to chime on this too, um, because there's many different modalities. You have things that Malu also has in that way, right? Of study of things that they've been exposed to first, or they've been exposed to in accordance with other things, right? So it's interesting because I think across the board, when people have been initiated into something or they've gone through a ceremony of something, right? Uh, they have a different understanding of what it is that's there, um, and it pushes a person. Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, I thought you were about to chime in.
No. I agree with you because regardless of the different modalities, once you are initiated to a particular thing and you take those rites and those rituals seriously, it puts you in a different mindset and a different mind frame. Um, in a Masonic community, I'm gonna give you a little tidbit. I ain't gonna go into detail, but in the Masonic community, one of the expressions that's said is "my knees are hurting. My knees hurt," and I can't go into detail what that represent, but that it means something. And another person who understands or overstands the whole totality of that, they'll know when you make that statement what is being said there, and they're like, "Well, yeah, I get you, brother. I get you, brother. Why go through all these things? Why accept these different principles, not to follow them out, not to follow through with them within your day-to-day life.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? You can get initiated to all the
And that's a
things in
good
the
point.
world, but if you don't follow through with them within your day-to-day life, they don't become a reflection of who you are, then it's all for nothing.
Relevant.
It's irrelevant. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. It becomes irrelevant. Absolutely.
I've met people. I've seen people get initiated to certain things on the continent and here in the States, right? Both traditional. Um, and then they post a lot of stuff like pictures and they go through X, Y, and Z. I know these persons personally though, face to face, personal. Um, and they've done all those things, and they've come back, and it's more about the show just to say that I did it. But it's like, well, that sacrifice that you made to be there, to go there, to be able to really have those things. And so when your teacher in that comes here and you don't take the time to really spend time with them or go there or whatever the case may be, there's always extenuating circumstances, but I've always thought about it in that way because in back in reflecting to the things that I've been initiated to, specifically Father, that I remember being in my very first temple that I was a part of, and I won't call out anything or anybody. That's not what this is about. But going through that and looking at that, those that were there, I think I'm the only one that still practices, like fully practices. Um, it's interesting, right? Because they were elders to me. They were older than me. Um, but I think about that too in general because it's not to put them in any position to say that they're this or they're that and whatever. That's irrelevant. The thing is that many people are called to IFA, but doesn't necessarily mean that they have the commitment. That's why those three pillars are so important, right? Okbon, Idajo, Iwakbale. Wisdom, justice, and good character. Those things are easy to say. It doesn't matter what order you place them in. They oh, thank you. Say no less. Um, no matter what order you place them in, one cannot exist without the other. You can't have justice without wisdom. You can't have wisdom without good character. You can't have any of those things without a good solid foundation in all three. Um, and that's so important because there are many things that if I only got initiated because I want to go back to my roots, that wouldn't have helped me. A lot of people fell to the wayside because of it.
Correct.
Because going back to my roots is not the thing that's going to hold you. Believe me, not in this tradition. Because there's going to be people that's going to be disrespectful. There's going to be people that aren't going to understand specifically, like in any system, that but it's not about them. It's about your commitment, about the things that you said that you wanted to do, that you focused in on, that you committed yourself to, that you say, I take this leap of faith. I take this focus. I take this uh, commitment to my own character, to my own purpose in this life. More than just words, there are actions, there are foundations, there are deeper understanding and willingness to learn, to empty your cup, but not to store those information away, not to throw it away, but to empty it so that you can gain more. So, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was listening, but one of the things that I've learned, that I've been taught, is that it is easier to change your destiny than it is to change your character.
it again, brother. Say it again.
It is easier to change your destiny. You can have your destiny can be bad, can be crazy. We can do something about that. But to change your character, because character codes with you from lifetime to lifetime, from incarnation to incarnation, and it's harder to change that than one's destiny.
And so, why do you think? Now that you brought that up, let me ask you that question. Why do you think that is a hard thing to do for people to
Because
change it?
I think that one's character is the person is the core of who they are, and you have to see the different character flaws that you have and strive yourself to make adequate changes to improve upon your character. First, you have to realize that there's something going on with you in the first place. That's the first step. Most people, they got all this stuff going on and they just go on with it like it's A1, like everything's fine, not even accepting because of their cognitive dissonance of their own character flaws. So once you have the courage to accept your character flaws, only then can we start to go about the fact of changing that character to improve upon your character and make and in short, changing oneself. But that takes strength, that takes courage, that takes accountability, and the willingness to transform. A lot of people don't want to do that.
So I think when we think about standing on a foundation, what's the first foundation we stand upon even before we go? And it's to anybody, but what's the first foundation that we stand upon, or the first? Yeah, what's the first foundation that we stand upon that we seek to gain access to in a or approval of? Anybody can answer that one.
I'll give this to Monroe. What you think, my brother? Because I see a response. But I'm gonna talk to you about that in a minute. But go ahead. I want to see where you want to go.
Well, I just comment.
Are you breaking up a little bit? Oh, okay. Okay. Um. Well, yeah. So I say those things in that way because it's really important to understand. And this is personal. This is a could be a rhetorical question, right? Because what aids a person to fully look at, because you can't change anybody else. That's first. This is the way that I look at it, right? Personally, you can't change anybody. Can't change anybody's character. Can't make anybody believe. You can't go through any kind of notions of whatever and this and this and that. You can't change anybody. So the most important part of any shift in your character first comes from you, right? So I asked the other question because it's when you think about your mother and your father. That's why when we talk about Isheshe, that's an important role. I generally stay from that mode because that's the key component to everybody that's on this earth. Everybody has an Isheshe, right? Everybody, because you have a mother, you have a father, and you have your own Ori Inu, and then your path on this earth that your Ori Inu lives, right? Or that you're destined to live on this earth. So when we think of our mother and our father, that's our first foundation for everything. Social norms, how we engage or disengage with life and people and places and spaces around us, what it means, how it means, what it opens and develops for us, how it gives us insight or whatever the case may be, right? That is our first classroom, if you will. So it could be that we never known our mother and our father for whatever reason. But even if we've never known them, you still are connected to them by your lineage, your paternal lineage, your uh, maternal lineage. There's no breaking that. I don't care what you involve yourself in and what you don't involve yourself in and what you don't see, what you are, what you become, whatever it is that it may be. It is you who are connected to them and their lineages by default. Now, in saying that though, that connection to that lineage, those lineages, open up or aid us in accomplishing all that we seek to accomplish. Even though we think that we're in charge and we're creating this uh, willpower or this our free will, if you will, right? Because free will is not so free. Because we make thousands and thousands of decisions a day, but it all roots back to our own Ori Inu. To know how much we want to do this or do that, it is our Ori Inu that guides us that we're supposed to go anyway. We can go all around the mulberry bush and all the way down the strip and, ring around Rosie. But it always comes back to the core of your destiny. It doesn't matter. I don't care where you are in the course of your life. I don't care what place on this earth that you reside. I don't care who, what, when, and where, and why these things. Thank you, Continue. That you embrace or awaken for yourself. It is of the utmost importance, though. Even if you know your parents or don't know your parents or don't know your lineage or don't know the things that they've done and haven't done, X, Y, and Z, you're still responsible for them. That's not fair. Oh. So what? Because you come here to fulfill a purpose. And so when we look at these things and say that these things that have purpose and meaning for us, so we can have a job that makes $50 billion a day. I'm being facetious. $50 million a day. $50 billion a day. But if that's not your purpose, it'll be cool. You may be able to do things. You have things in line and X, Y, and Z is flowing. But the main core of you, no matter how much you think you are happy in that mix, it's always going to be something that's missing because it is not your destiny. Now, mind you, I like how my Lou always says that, there's always a farm behind the house, right? That farm behind the house is that where you are doing a job or you're doing something that is sustaining yourself in one way or the other. But my main work is IFA, especially now, full time Babalao. And that's something I also look back at too. It's really, it trips me out, especially now, because when I think about what I set out to do and my thoughts of what this was and what it is for me, completely different in a way that I did not want to be a practicing Babalawo. I did not. That was not my focus. But whether or not it was my focus or not, this was my destiny. And because it was my destiny, that's what had to take place. Whether I sought it out, didn't want it, whether it's something that is off kilter, or whether I'm like, at first I felt uneasy, but once I started to do this, it became part of me. There was no separating it. People come in, every time I see you, always talk about E5. That's who I am. In one form or another, it's always gonna end up in some form talking about something. And I'm not always just that 24/7. I am, but I'm not, because I'm not gonna throw nothing in nobody's face or down nobody's throat. But it's just like it comes out, because even when I'm talking about physics or mathematics or chemistry or botany or whatever, it always comes back to Ifa for me. Why? This is my life. This is who I am. Ifa Koride, Okpesanwo, Ifa Koride, Okpesanwo is Ifa is my foundation, my pillar of support. And it has been. It has been. Above and beyond anything else in my life, it has been. No matter who turned their back upon me, no matter who and when and where, as my father transitioned, this is 2 years is coming up on now, as that so many different things transition here and there and there and there, Ifa has truly been my pillar of support. It's truly been my foundation. 100%. As with, Ifa Koride, Ifa Kor brings back blessings or abundance or success in my life. Right? Because by the time of that day, it's pretty potent. It boggles my mind every time that I think about it, because, so many different roads I could have rode down. So many different things that I could have awakened, but that wasn't my destiny to do so. This was. And because destiny plays that toll, and you feel fulfilled every time you do it. You feel like you are whole every time you do it. You truly awaken yourself every time you do it. That's where everything begins to develop in a certain kind of way. When you're able to physically do it. And that's important. And that's really important, I think, in a greater sense, because the more that you're able to fully accept who you are 1000%. I don't, especially, this is also my 48th year on this planet, right? Heading toward my 7th cycle. So it's like that in itself, I'm not worried about anything anymore. I love to study. I love to develop. I love to grow. I'm constantly seeking that on a consistent basis. Help others to do the same. But I'm not stressed about the rat race anymore. I'm not stressed about things coming and going and tripping up or tripping out and doing whatever as they seek to. Because I know these are either things that I seek to develop in myself, or the Olodumare within my Ori Inu pushes me to gain better access to. And I think that's important to realize when we delve into, like we was talking about before. Tommy was talking about it in Moreau, Silent Wisdom. A few other folks was building about in the comments as well, where when we're able to say that this is no longer about just my ego, it's about my development and growth. That's a powerful statement. When you're able to relinquish all these anxiety and stress and tension, like, okay, I gotta get this. Okay, yeah, I got things on my path I gotta do. Finish up taxes for the year, do this and this and this. But Am I stressed? Nah. I got out the tub before I got in on this live. Lounging in the tub, feeling good. Last few days, I've been real able just to, it's been busy, which is a good thing. And we always want busy. Busy is good. But also is a good thing to take that time to be by yourself. A lot of times, it's harder to be by yourself than it is to be in the midst of thousands of people. What do I mean by that? I mean, I remember being in Burkina Faso and studying is natural to humans. We were designed to grow and evolve, and studying facilitates that. Yeah, that's definitely true. Very, very true. I agree with that. Thank you. Thank you, Say No Less, as well, for resubscribing. And I say that because when you really look back at your life and think about all the things that you've accomplished in your life, whatever it may be, personal accomplishments or otherwise, those become memories because those memories are the things that aid you to grow. Because I remember, I go back and put these members back together so that I understand that these things that I remember and have experienced are now these next level of heading toward wisdom, just by understanding knowing how to use them in my remembering. How do I use this now in my practical daily life? Now that I've gotten this understanding of something, how do I use it? Oh, when I go to put it in a practical stance, it's going to test me. Because now, are you sure that you got that lesson? Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. Are you sure you got that lesson? Are you sure you got that what you wanted? Are you sure that's what you need? Because go back to those pillars again. Wisdom, justice, and good character. Wisdom is not just given to anybody. When you engage with an elder that has wisdom, and they seek to impart it upon a youth or someone younger than themselves, maybe somebody their same age, that has lived an experience that you have not. And then once you lived that experience, you want to share it with someone so that they understand it too. When that youth receives it, they can receive it in two ways. I receive this because it's wow, I don't want to go through that like you went through it. So I want to learn from your mistakes. I want to gain from your wisdom that you've went through these steps and you did it this particular way and it worked for you. It may not work in the same way, but at least I have a roadmap to roll down. Or they say, roll your boat gently down the stream. Anyway, so that's those things specifically, though. I may go down that same pathway as his elders going, but I also have to live my own ori inu, my own path, my own destiny in the midst of it. That's why I say the most important people in our lives is the people that raised us. But even the ones that have not raised us, if they were not there, if they were not present, they're still the most important people in your life. Because without them, you would not be here. And I always go back to the same thing. I remember one of my teachers with Egungun, he made a comment to me. He was like, we propitiate our ancestors and give them their just due, their foods, the things that they, things he's spoken to me. But we are also ancestors that are being propitiated all at the same time. I was like, what? How am I giving and receiving at the same time? Because one day we will be an ancestor, and there is no linear line of existence. There's not something that is consistent and just there. We go in cycles. Oh, you got 2,880 degrees of a perfect sphere. Got 90 degrees of uprightness. That 30 degree, that is Eshuadata, that acute angle. That is in existence. 96 times 30 degrees is 2,880 degrees. And it's important to really see that cycle. Why is Eshu in all of these aspects? Because he is the owner of Ashe, the grasper of all existence. As is Olodumare, the great quantifier of all existence, or the great mathematician, if you will. Because all these things that we deal with in IFA is purely mathematics. Mm-hmm. Yep. You have a question, Tommy?
So I have a question, Eshu. When you look at Eshu and you see the different paths of Eshu, he has one of the most of various different paths of everyone else. Um, how is this? Why is it so that Eshu has so many different paths compared to some of the other Orisha that don't have nearly as many as he does?
Eshu itself is only one Eshu. Like, for example, Maya Lul holds a title in Ile Ife that is the king of all Eshus. There's only one Eshu. There's many aspects and different avenues and different angles and different ways to approach and to deal and to just like we have multiple aspects of ourselves, right? Let's bring it back to ourselves so we can have a better understanding of it, right? We have multiple aspects of ourselves on a consistent basis. And that, just like what I just was talking about, that 30-degree angle, that acute angle, right? 3 times 30 degrees is 90 degrees, right?
Right.
And so we keep going and you start to see, oh, wait a minute, what is 12 times 30? 30 degrees. That's a 360 degree, right? The full circle. So since you have that full circle of insight, and SU is a part of all aspects, is one overseeing and overlooking all those things in context and in conjunction with Orumila, with Ifa, right? What is Orumila? The witness to all fates.
Right.
So because of that, when we look at those things, that this one level plane of this flat dimensional 360 degree is only one of many different angles of so much knowledge and wisdom that has to be obtained. And if you are a messenger, and he's more than just a messenger, he's a teacher. You have to know multiple things. Like when you go into a university or you go into a high school even, that teacher has to know more than just one subject to teach, right?
Correct.
So when someone is a teacher, an instructor, then he has to know multiple angles. So does he know more than Oludamadi? Of course not. He's a 30-degree angle of those aspects. So there's a certain thing with the seat of Eshu, that's a whole other different thing. That you see that.
Okay.
And so when you start looking at that and seeing how why Orumila? So just on the story base, we how Orumila and Eshu come in contact, or why are they so close as they are? So from the surface level, we see how Eshu and Orumila has a special relationship because he was he was uh, what's the best word to say? He was committed to his friendship, to his bond to Orumila, as it says in one verse of Ifa, right? Well, Orumila wanted to see how his students and people around him felt about him, so he hid himself in the rafters. Now we know the Eshu is a multidimensional being, but for the story's sake, as he was inside of the rafters, he instructed all his family, don't tell anybody that I'm still alive. Just putting out there that I am no longer in existence. And as he hid himself, people will come by and ask, "Oh, he owed me some money. You know that, right?" He didn't say
Hmm.
it, but he owed me. And there was other people say, "Oh, there's a you know that this certain thing that he had, and it was really mine though. I let him borrow it." And people were saying all kind of different stuff. And so Eshu was like, he came in, no, I know he didn't owe you any money. I know this was his. I seen it with him. I know. So he was so committed to Eshu, to Ifa, to Rumila. He's so committed to Rumila. He's like, nah, this is not this is not right. Why would you do this to his wife like this? Right? And so when he heard this, Rumila came down and was like, Eshu, you are truly my friend. You are truly, committed to me. Even when you thought that I was no longer here, you were committed. You are truly a friend, more than a friend, your family, right? There's nothing that he won't give without giving to SU first. Because just as Orumila Ileri Queen is the witness to all faiths, Eshu got a certain kind of Ashe. He is the owner of Ashe. And there's another verse that talks about that as well. But for the most part, he there he is the owner of Ashe. Because he is the owner of Ashe, specifically, thank you. He's the owner of Ashe. And so because he's the owner of Ashe, specifically, that thank you, Kanti. Um, when we do a bowl, we give to Eshu. Always. Always. There's nothing that we give without giving to Eshu too. Because just as it is given he's taken to where it needs to go and sees what needs to happen, just like he and the mothers are joined at the T junction. There's so much that he encompasses in the mysteries of Eshu and his many emanations, to put it lightly, that there is nothing that he cannot see and does not involve himself in. As with Ogun, really, in a lot of ways, because you can't take an oath without Ogun. You try to make you give a Yoruba person a stack of Bibles, they'll say it all day long. Yep. You give them a stack of Qurans, they swear all day long. Yep. You give them some iron and see what they do. Uh, yeah, I ain't 100%. Nope, I can't do that. Guaranteed, right?
Hmm.
So, but all of these aspects, and I think it's important to understand that. Oh, thank you. All of these aspects of all of these orishas, even though Eshu is so potent and powerful as he is, he's the owner of Ashe. What's more important than Eshu? to us in our life. Because once Eshu gets what he needs, though, what happens? He's on his way. The most important Orisha that we could ever connect to is our own Ori. That's when we even go to a divination, we're committed to our own Ori first. That's what brought us there. That's our direct connection to Olodumare. And because we've gotten that information from our Ori that the diviner opened up and extracted and brought it forth to the forefront, what needs to be put in balance, was out of balance, on and on and on, then it's incumbent upon that Ori Unu to now complete it. Because they know the pact that Eshu and Orunmila have with each other, with Olodumare. Think about, why is it always Eshu that checks up on folks if they did their Ebo or not, right? Why is it on Eshu that, when they were making that journey from Ilaye to Orun to meet the mandatory meeting that Olodumare told them to come to? Why was it Eshu that was checking if everybody did their Ebo? And because Orunmila was the only one that did, he's the only one that got there. That says a lot. So the mysteries of and the wisdom, the secrets of Eshu are far more reaching than a lot of people think. We put it like that.
Yeah, give more information.
You said you about to go rest? Hello?
I'm about to be out. I'm about to be out, Baba.
Okay. Yeah, no worries, no worries, no worries.
It's
We'll talk soon.
3:32 over here.
Oh, so I know. Yeah. It's like 12:32 here.
Yeah. I'm about to get some rest, but it is always a pleasure. Like your insight and your deliverance of Isheshe is more than profound. You are years beyond
I'll
your
clarify.
time. You are years beyond your time. So I appreciate you. Um, I have work that I still want to do with you, and I'll call you. I'll call you later on today.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you
Talk to you
soon.
soon. What up?
Wadabo.
Oh, thank you, Monroe. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot, actually. I don't seek to be. I definitely don't seek to be pretentious at all. Um, I seek to be honest as possible. Um, I just know that all that I ever learn is more to learn always. Right? There's always somebody with a greater wisdom than I do, than I have, always. Um, and I think that's the beautiful part about it, though. Like with any system, any tradition, because we don't have to know everything. There's things I know you know more than I do, Monroe, because you've been initiated in other places that I have not. Right? So you know that those mysteries and those things that are in there. So I appreciate you bringing those things to the table. Right? Just like I appreciate many other people that come up and open the doorway. I see, made me believe in if I can. I think I told you that system, but the people, yeah, it's a journey. Believe me, it's a journey and a half. That's nothing I was thinking about today while in the tub. Um, the many people I came across, and if I was to really root myself in and only to deal with them, like I said, just going back to my roots, and those particular people, if I came across them, when I came across them, and if I let them dictate to how I was going to practice and not practice, and how I was going to be and not be, I wouldn't be here. And I think it's interesting. Um, I need to call my Lou today. We talk every day, at least every other day. Um, And that is something that I say a lot. But I really, really, really respect all the elders that I've studied with, but definitely those that are here and those that have transitioned. By I give credit to them. I give credit to Olodumare. I give credit to my Ori Inu. Without great guidance, there's no foundation. I pay homage to them because understanding why and where and how we deliver and look at things in our life. Bro, TikTok top reader. That's cool. That's um, it's important. It's important for us to really sit down and delve into um, our experiences. And that's why I started this live in a greater sense, is because I appreciate the experiences that people have to bring to the table. Whether looked at one of the lives and saw that brother that was Maori from New Zealand, or so many other people, bro, like so many people coming in from many different places and spaces and backgrounds that are really bringing in good, solid insight, not arguing, not fighting. Because hey, I'm telling you right now, if it was only that on here, I wouldn't be here. I am definitely not about that life. Chopped it up and like, bump that. I'm not doing it because I'm not going to argue with anybody. So I appreciate everybody that's been here with me doing this journey consistently, and will be. Um, this live is such an amazing space. It's rare to find such a calm place where ideas are shared. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that because that's what I seek it to be. I really do. That is calm, is cool. Because that's my personality. I don't like a lot of woof and boo. I don't like a lot of chaotic hollering and screaming. Because before I started my live, I did a little scroll through and just was looking at some folks. And not to put anything on anybody else, one way or the other, but it's like, if you have to get your point across to holler and scream, it's not really a point. It's more like I'm right and everybody else is wrong. But I love the fact that when people come in here to this live, that I'm able to have a good, deep conversation without it. No, there's no need for the back and forth, and everyone has their own perspective. Yeah, everybody has their own perspective. That's the beautiful part about it. You know what I mean? Because when somebody has a perspective, then that's a chance for me to learn something new. And it may not be something that I study, or maybe not be something I ever study, or even practice. But just having that perspective is a good thing. Because if there's only one perspective, then you just keep preaching to the choir. You remember that cartoon? He was like, yup, yup, yup. I may be showing my age. Yeah, exactly. So if nothing else, it's a talking point. I like talking points. That's why I study and read. I'm a bibliophile. I read everything. I'm reading on the Sikhs now, which is interesting because I see a lot of correlations between the Sikhs and IFA in a lot of ways. I'm reading about so many different things. But just because I'm reading about it doesn't mean that I have to practice those things. I just know that I am always looking for a connection with people. Because the more connection that I have with people, the more that I'm actually able to grasp the things that I do better. Because it's not only from in my head, in me thinking, it's others people thinking too, and how other people uh, make this world go round, not only for themselves but for others too. And I think that's the beautiful thing about Fa. I always bring it back to Fa because that's just what I am. That's what I deal with. But Fa opens me up to the point where, because it's like I was saying, I was looking at another live too recently as I was editing it. There is nothing that I when I how was it said, when we engage with a group of people and everybody's right, then two parts. If everybody's right and there's no flexibility in knowing and receiving information, is it a conversation or is it a conversation? Are you trying to push some idea on someone else? Wouldn't that be the same thing that we say that we don't like about others? Yeah, I'm never learning anything. Exactly. If I'm always right, I never learn anything. Exactly. The same thing with Ifa. If Ifa, we know that Ifa is the great body of wisdom. Because Ifa is the great body of wisdom, then there should be no perspective in that great body of wisdom that cannot have a floor to speak, as long as it's respectful. Because I say that Ifa is a great body of wisdom, that means it encompasses all existence. On that note, my phone is about to die, and I don't know where my charger is, so I'm going to have to say, Odapo, I'm about to go. But thank you for everybody for coming in. Thank you for everybody for sharing your comments. Thank you for your likes, your shares, your subscriptions. Thank you for all that you have engaged with. And to the next time we connect, because you didn't have to be here. You could have been in many places. Thank you, Alicia. You could have been in many different places and spaces. You didn't have to be here. You didn't have to share and engage or listen. So I appreciate you for being here. You have a wonderful, great rest of your day. Thank you very much. I appreciate you too. Hodapo. My phone's about to die like right now. And so know that if you want to go back and listen or look at these, I put them also on my YouTube. Sometimes the full things, it takes a little while to get up there to load, but full things are there as well. So if you want to, please feel free to go over there. And thank you for that too, Kunti Woman. It's also there. And I'm trying to get people to go back and forth between here and there because I really want to start to do the lives as there as well, and begin to do more of a, what do you call those things, podcast, where, the interviewing people and connecting to people and building with people in that same way. So definitely go check out the YouTube, subscribe there as well. And we will be able to build in many different ways there and here. And I appreciate you for those that are resubscribing and definitely taking that time, energy, and effort with me, surrounding with me, guiding me, as I hope that you have learned something from me as well, that I can learn from you. Appreciate you. Odapo.